Hello everyone and welcome to Expo Dubai and Game 7 coverage of the FIDE World Championship Dubai 2021 between world champion Magnus Carlsen and the challenger Nepomniachtchi. The battle was tight for 5 games. It seemed that no one was able to draw any blood or get any advantage, but Game 6 changed all that as Magnus Carlsen showed his tenacity, his will, and his determination and won the longest World Championship game in history, 136 moves and 7.5 hours of incredibly tense action before the champion was able to take down the challenger and take a lead in the match. Today in Game 7, it will be a Herculean task for Nepo to defeat Magnus. He has to come up with some new idea with the white pieces. Everything he's tried has been rebuffed so far from the champion, and it is very difficult to defeat Magnus when he gets on a roll. Nepo will certainly come up with some new concept to try to rattle Magnus. Later we will hear from Viswanathan Anand and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, two of the greatest players in the world today, about how they think Magnus can be taken down and some of their other insights in the match. Well, Game 7 is set to begin. Let's get it started.
Today, more than ever, when the world comes together to create a better tomorrow.
It's going to be
magic.
Oh,
La magie. Magic.
Magic with music.
With architecture.
With colors.
Magic with celebration.
with your safety.
From here.
There.
And everywhere.
For 6 whole months, day and night.
Join the making of a new world starting October 1st.
Want to play chess but don't know how to get started? Try chess.com. Play for free against someone at your level or challenge one of our friendly computer bots. Trying to improve your chess? Learn the Queen's Gambit and other openings with guided interactive lessons. Like chess but don't want the pressure of playing games? Chess.com has hundreds of thousands of fun puzzles to help you relax and sharpen your mind. Play your friends, make new ones around the world, follow the latest games and more. Sign up and play for free at chess.com today.
Wow, I'm super excited. So my feelings are I'm in a buzz. It's been a super exciting time to be able to experience these two legends, go back and forth, and finally Magnus taking the win yesterday. It's a historical moment. So I feel very blessed to be here and very excited for what is going to happen today.
To be honest, after Magnus took the win yesterday, I didn't have many expectations. I would like him to take this game, but at the moment it looks like a little bit tied, so who knows what's going to happen, to be honest.
Well, Magnus won yesterday, so today it will be an amazing game.
Well, Game 6 changed everything. Going into Game 6, everyone had these expectations of just like this kind of, trench warfare, such a close struggle, knowing it might end up just going draws all the way out and going to tie breaks like in the past. And then all of a sudden, we get this marathon match last night where just the triumph of like a super will and determination of Magnus and everyone else, just the commentators, the spectators, the fans, other players, just poured their heart and soul into yesterday, and then to come out with a decisive result, but not just a decisive result, but after over 100 moves and hours was super huge, not just for the players, but for all of chess. So I think everyone came in today a little bit buzzing, a little bit of adrenaline and kind of good feelings. I can say that we're looking forward to some fighting chess now because Nepo's back is against the wall.
The extraordinary qualities that Magnus has, I would reduce it to one thing. He doesn't make mistakes. He may not play the best move in every position. Of course, he struggles finding the best move like all of us. But it'll at least be the third best move. He hardly ever makes real blunders, or at least far fewer than the others. And this is maybe the biggest skill. This is why he's able to play long games. This is why he's able to win drawn positions, because he's never the one to make the last mistake. So the pressure of being a challenger, first of all, is that you want to feel worthy. You don't want to, we all dread that we wake up one day, we go to the game, and that day is the day our brain switches off and you can't help yourself. That's okay. It happens once in a while, it's part of the cycle. But when you go to the World Championship, you don't have those moments because, first of all, it's a rare opportunity. You worked 3 years to qualify for it. There were all sorts of critical moments you went through. So that's the main thing. That's why I think many challengers are initially hesitant the first few rounds because they're settling in and they want it to feel natural before they proceed any further. And that, I think, is the major feeling you have when you're a challenger. When I was a challenger in New York, for instance, after 8 draws and 1 win, I felt, okay, at least I belong here. And there's a slight relief in that. By no means is that the end of the match, but at least you feel. Many people have noted this. Kramnik looked very, very dominant in his match against Gary, for instance. But he himself was thinking inside, at least I've not made a fool of myself. So I think that's a big part of being a challenger, like an imposter syndrome. You don't want to go there and suddenly have it caved down. And because of the associated pressure and everything, you feel it more intensely, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Maurice Ashley, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the FIDE World Championship Dubai 2021. Playing with the white pieces, the challenger from Russia, Jan Nepomniachtchi. And with the black pieces, from Norway, the world champion, Magnus Carlsen. The Minister of Industry and Trade, Denis Mankorov, and the CEO of Fosagro, the sponsor of the FIDE World Championship 2021 Dubai, Andrei Guriev. Let the game begin. And we are at the beginning of Game 7. A big game for Jan Nepomniachtchi as he lost Game 6 after a marathon battle, the longest game in World Chess Championship history. What will he have in reserve in order to come back in this game? We see them starting out by pushing the 2 pawns in the middle of the board and knight to f3, attacking a pawn, knight to c6. Very classical line. We've seen this in every single game that Nepo has had white, and he's just surged his bishop to the b5 square, known as the Ruy Lopez or the Spanish game. But Magnus has seen this before. Cool, calm, the move a6, attacking the bishop, and now the bishop dropping back away from the attack of that pawn. These are moves that they have memorized and have played before. Knight to f6. Now bringing the knight out and quickly castles by Nepo, still deep in their preparation. This is such a big game. If Magnus wins this game, this match could simply be over. So the tension is extremely high on Jan to not make any mistakes. But cool, calm Magnus now bringing out his bishop to e7 right in front of the king. That is what we've seen before. Rook to e1. That is also the move. All this simply by prescription only. We would expect now Magnus to push the pawn, and bam, there it goes, attacking the bishop. That bishop now chased backwards, and it will retreat, and there we see bishop back to b3. Castles is normally played here, and there is the move, castles. The danger for Magnus is he's walking into Nepo's special preparation. a4 now on the board. That is something that we have seen before. Magnus there, just a little hesitation before playing the move, rook to b8. He knows that Nepo has some trap planned, some keen idea, something new that he's going to try in order to defeat him. Little pause right now, and we're seeing the same things. They have not changed at all. This has been the game so far, and we expect to see a capture. And in the last game, we saw Nepo play the move pawn to c3 next to that bishop. Actually, no, h3. That's right, h3 was the move. Pawn h3 on the other side of the board. So far, so good. Again, this is what we've seen. The danger for Magnus, he doesn't seem as if he cares. He's so cool, he's so calm, just playing that move there. Pawn to d6. And now, I believe it was pawn to c3 was the move. There is some hesitation, and he's played a different move. Pawn to d3. This is the first new move of this game. They played before. It is a novelty, and Magnus now pausing dead in his tracks. He knows that the Russian has prepared this with his team at the hotel and said, we've got to try something new against this champion. And already Magnus knows that he is being hunted.
If everybody in the
It's Expo 2020.
loved everybody in the world, what a glorious world this could be.
It's the culture, the music, the artwork. It's the people.
Come on and join us. A new world is just beginning.
I'm not terribly interested in this greatest player in history thing because it's so difficult to compare. Really, you couldn't compare Fischer and Kasparov already because their times were so different. A lot of Magnus's reputation, even in my eyes, is built around the fact, I respect it hugely, that he's the classical champion, the rapid champion, the blitz champion, and he's finding time for bullet and what have you. This is a man who loves chess and plays it at top intensity, even in casual games. I respect that. But how do you compare that with, let's say, Kasparov, who there was hardly any rapid and blitz going on? And the World Rapid and Blitz only emerged almost at the end of my World Championship streak. So we didn't, it's really apples and oranges. Kasparov worked in a certain era. Magnus is really in the computer generation. It's so difficult to compare. I think it's pointless. But nobody doubts that if there was such a ranking, Magnus would be one of the top names. I think that's a better way to put it.
Well, since Magnus won yesterday, it will be an exciting game and exciting fight today.
Like I said, the battle is going back and forth. We got a lot of energetic moves. I'm feeling very happy, and I'm very excited to see how the game will progress.
I think Nepo has a lot of pressure on him to be able to win this, especially because Magnus took yesterday's game. So I think if Magnus takes this one, there's even more on Nepo, and I think both of them are getting tired at this point. So I take it back. I'd rather see Nepo win just to almost put the pressure on both of them and add a bit more excitement for all of us to see. So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, Nepo has white. It's Rui Lopez. He's going for it. I think that, there's some kind of juice in this position, but he's got to be careful because, if he goes a little bit too over the edge, that's when Magnus can pounce. So it's a measured but focused kind of intensity in this game where, who knows what can happen, but Nepo better be careful because he can't overpress.
Magnus Carlsen facing off against Jan Nepomniachtchi, and this new move that the Russian has played against him, that tiny move, pawn to d3, but quite significant. Magnus has been thinking for some time, and now he's played a small pawn move, the move pawn to h6, that guards a critical square, keeping white's pieces off that big g5 square. Magnus knows that he's got to make sure that Jan gets no advantage whatsoever and gets no squares to park his pieces. Jan back at the board now, and he's been thinking away from the board and Boom! Instantly, he plays the move knight to c3. Magnus is not recording the move. Meantime, Nepo's already written the move down and is already walking away. Now Magnus has decided to record the move. Usually you write your move down instantly. You don't spend any time, but Magnus knows his opponent is super prepared and is waiting for him to make any kind of mistake for him to exploit. Now Magnus has been thinking and he's played rook to e8. That's a pretty standard move here, moving the rook over. The tension is starting to build in this game. Magnus knows that he cannot make any mistake early, and he wants to somehow avoid his opponent's preparation. Feeling pretty relaxed though, taking a bit of water. Definitely always good to stay hydrated during a chess game. But Nepo hasn't returned to the board. He's got a rest area where he can see the moves on a screen, and it looks like Magnus has decided, hey, might as well take a walk myself. Neither player at the board at the moment, but here's Nepo coming back, and he has seen this move by Magnus, this slight move of the rook over to e8, and he may have prepared this move already. We'll see how much we are still in his preparation. Key ideas that you have to have when you come to the chessboard. These guys study so much stuff in advance so that they can just bang moves out. And he is now playing the move knight to d5, centralizing his knight in the middle of the board. It can be traded off, but that trade might be good for white, as white will capture back and attack the black knight. So Magnus now will have to deal with this advance. Magnus feeling the challenge of that last knight move in the middle of the board. Nepo doing his traditional leaving from the chessboard, showing his confidence. Magnus not too comfortable seeing such a move. The complexities, oh, wait a minute, he's taking his jacket off. Normally, Magnus is a cool customer, but when the jacket comes off, it means that he's got to get down to work. Nepo certainly getting him hot under the collar with this challenging move, and Magnus will have to work out all the variations. Let's see what he comes up with. And he now plays the knight back to e7. Any retreating move is usually a tricky one, a deep one, a subtle one, and that knight move certainly has all of those qualities. The knight is possibly going over to the other side of the board. That would be a good point to the move. It's also not blocking the pawn anymore, so that pawn might advance forward down the board. Nepo sees this move and he knows these kind of moves are very deep. Knights going backwards so they can go forwards. So he is facing this subtle, deep idea by the world champion. We're now in move 21, and Nepo has to figure out what to do next to put some pressure on Magnus, and he's played the move pawn to e5. The pawn is attacking black's queen, but it is under attack itself. This is a sharp move. This will be either effective or nothing at all. This is ramping up the pressure in this game. Magnus will have to come up with a big idea as the game has taken on extreme tension and the pressure is ratcheted up.
Today, more than ever, when the world comes together to create a better tomorrow.
It's going to be
Magic.
Oh,
La magie. Magic. Magic with music.
With architecture.
With colors.
Magic with celebration.
with your safety.
From here.
There.
And everywhere.
For 6 whole months, day and night.
Join the making of a new world, starting October 1st.
If everybody in the
It's Expo 2020.
loved everybody in the world, what a glorious world this could be.
It's the culture, the music, the artwork. It's the people.
Come on and join us. A new world is just beginning.
Well, today Jan has to, I think he has to create the mess, to create imbalances and create chaos on the board. That's basically it. I mean, Magnus can, feed on chaos, but he generally likes to be in control. So if Nepo can create chaos, be in control of it, so to speak, because it's still chaos, of course he can lose the game, but that's his best chance to win.
That last pawn thrust by Jan Nepomniachtchi has given Magnus pause. There's a lot of tension in the middle of the board. Many things can be captured at the moment, but Magnus reaching for his queen and just calmly moving it up one square, leaving all the tension in the middle, and Jan capturing the pawn there, Magnus taking back nice and cool. We've seen two pretty basic captures get played, and Jan reaching for the pawn, and now a lot of things are coming off the board. Bishop takes pawn on the last move. Looks like Magnus can just simply trade bishops in this position. He's going to think about it for a moment as we see Jan leave the board once again. Is that confidence, or is it maybe some frustration? He doesn't want to show Magnus. Bishop takes bishop, a natural trade. You're going to have to take back that piece. You can't just lose pieces in chess. So bishop takes bishop, rook takes bishop will be Jan's next move. I don't see any other possibility. You simply have to take this piece off the board. We see Jan coming back, writing down the move, and just a brief pause on his part. And there it goes, rook takes bishop, and instantly we see another capture. There have been just a slew of captures on the last several moves. I'm not sure how all these trades favor either side. We've been seeing mass exchanges, pawns and pieces flying off the board, and another possible capture, and there it is. Knight takes knight, but simply rook captures back knight by Magnus, and it seems as though there's more trade to come. Another set of trades. Rook takes rook, queen takes rook will 100% be the next move. And we just have too few pieces on the board. This cannot favor Nepo to have all these trades happening. Not in any way, since it's going to be very difficult as Magnus captures the rook there for him to win such a game. And he's offering a trade of queens. Trading queens, clearly this is an admission that nothing is possible here for white to do, that this game is just about dead. Magnus is relieved to see this offer. Thank you very much. Let's get the queens off. There will be no mating attacks. There will be no major threats. More and more pieces coming off the board just signals a draw is in the offing, and now Magnus goes after the weak white pawn. Black certainly in no danger. Now Nepo going after the weak black pawn. Those pawns are just going to drop from the board, and nothing will remain on that side. Neither side is going to be able to win this game. This is just straight heading towards a draw. We see now that both players are coming in on the final stages, no question about it. These pawns are too symmetrical, nothing on the board to play for. They know that this is going to be a draw. No way Nepo is going to be happy with this result. Magnus is thrilled. He's leading by a full point. So a draw certainly favors him, but nothing to do about it now. Nepo's going to have to fight for another day for tomorrow's game as he's played that move, and that's basically a draw offer that Magnus will gladly accept as there's nothing to play for anyway. Magnus recording the last move there, and we have the handshake. Game 7 is over. It is a draw. Magnus leads 3.5 points to 2.5 points. He'll have the white pieces If he wins tomorrow, this match will be very difficult, but for now, they've made peace in Game 7.
As talked about earlier, there's half a match left, and I don't think being 1-0 up at this point changes the strategy drastically for either player. I mean, there will come a point, but I'm not convinced that that point has yet come.
It's not going too well because in general, I guess I had quite some promising positions, and I believe also yesterday was some kind of I don't know, eclipse which prevented me from grabbing b4 pawn twice in a row. But yesterday's game was just kind of poor from both sides, I believe, especially during the time trouble. But otherwise, I think it's pretty much sensible, and it's very much fighting.
All right, well, we have two of the greatest players of our time here. Tomorrow will be the next game, Game 8, and Magnus will have the white pieces. It will be at 16:30 at the Dubai Exhibition Center. Thank you very much. This concludes the press conference. See you tomorrow. Have a great night.